Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to GhostGG. Today we're reacting to Alan Wake 2, creating the dual protagonist experience from IGN. Another day, another Alan Wake 2 video. There's quite a lot coming out, and the release is next month, so yeah. Oh my god, it's connected to my speaker still. Fuck.
First things first. What's your name?
His name may quite literally be the title of the game, but Alan Wake is not the only main character in Remedy Entertainment's upcoming survival horror.
Yeah, baby, we got two main characters.
Alan Wake 2 doesn't just point to its sequel nature, but also to the duality that runs through the entire game. Two protagonists, two perspectives, two worlds, and two approaches to gameplay.
I keep spilling water on myself, fucking hell.
And we knew that obviously Alan was going to be a big part of it, but we also kind of knew that we wanted to kind of have a different perspective for the players who may be not familiar with Alan Wake 1. So that instantly created this kind of duality, as you say, this kind of like, we have Saga Anderson, the FBI agent, then we had Wake, the writer.
For September's IGN First, we spoke to two developers at Remedy, game director Kyle Rowley and principal narrative designer Molly Maloney, to learn how they created different experiences for both Alan and Saga, how they developed two unique spins on the core survival horror gameplay, and how swapping between the two leads affects the way Alan Wake 2's story unfolds.
Creating the dual protagonist experience.
Hello. Do you have a second?
Long time and no see, Miss Anderson.
Our new protagonist is Saga Anderson, an FBI agent investigating a ritual murder performed by an eerie cult. The case brings her to Bright Falls, the small-town America setting of the original Alan Wake.
Saga obviously exists in our world, so, you know, it's kind of a more grounded reality, but it's still Remedy's take on the Pacific Northwest, which means it's a little quirky, a little interesting, a little weird. So I'd say, like, overall, the vibe of her side of the story is, it's sinister. It's like moving through exploration, plotting and methodically trying to solve these pieces, but also at the same time interspersed with these profound moments of really weird, disturbing, supernatural combat.
First game was very much focused a bit on combat, and here we wanted to kind of like hook into that kind of idea of being an FBI agent, a profiler, someone who's investigating the kind of serialistic ritual serial killings, and that leads into gameplay of, you know, exploring the world, finding clues, talking to people, having this case board that you're kind of piecing everything together.
Coffee World. The most caffeinated place on Earth.
While Saga investigates murders in the real world, our titular hero fights for survival in the Dark Place, a realm of nightmares that manifests itself as a neo-noir-like rendition of New York City. Wake has been trapped there since the conclusion of the original game, released back in 2010.
As you can imagine, somebody who spent 13 years inhabiting the Dark Place, being stalked by malevolent forces, definitely has a bit of, I hesitate to say paranoia, but it's earned paranoia. So, you know, his spaces, his side of the story definitely has a lot more of that tone. Unlike Saga's side of the story, the Dark Place does not obey the rules of reality that you would expect. And so it's a kind of place that shifts and changes in unexpected ways that are designed to keep both Alan and the player kind of on edge.
The Dark Place doesn't just shift and change. Alan himself can alter the world around him. This comes to life through environmental puzzles, such as dead ends that can be reshaped into explorable routes.
Whoa, cool.
The Dark Place had reacted to my story. The way into the tunnels was no longer blocked.
This shifting of reality is conducted in the writer's room. Upon a chalkboard that exists only within Alan's head, you can use moments of inspiration discovered throughout the world to craft new stories.
Saga has her mind place where she does her investigations, and he has his writer's room where he conducts his, like, he makes his story.
Pathways and secrets, which in turn push Alan's story forward.
That's so cool. I knew there's gonna be something like that for him.
Only exists within her head. It's called the Mind Place, and at the center of it is the case board. Here you can arrange clues and evidence that you've found in the real world into lines of investigation. Connecting clues unlocks new mission objectives, which in turn pushes Saga's investigation forward.
The actual like game mechanics the player has to utilize are kind of the same across both characters, but obviously the context and the worlds they're in and the situations they're in are very different. So we definitely wanted to make sure that they had their own unique twist on that kind of same core experience. Saga has her mind place in the case board. Alan has his writer's room and the plot board.
Remedy has applied this same but different approach to each protagonist's combat experience too.
For Saga, we're more leaning on like the anticipation of the encounter. Like, we have less combat in this game compared to the first game by quite a lot, but we didn't want it to feel like there's no danger at any moment. For Wake, the core combat loop is the same. I still need to use my flashlight. I still need to kind of burn away the darkness, but we're a bit more focused on the idea of like paranoia and not being able to trust what's real. So we have like enemies that they're kind of shadowy. You're not sure. Some of them kind of will fade away and then not attack you, but some of them will attack you. So trying to create
keeps you on your
different
toes.
type of emotional responses from the player, but utilizing the same kind of core gameplay loops that we've established.
The shadows faded out until they didn't. They were trying to stop me. With the gun and flashlight, I could fight back.
In many games with multiple main characters, the perspective switches at specific moments that have been pre-planned by the developers. Remedy has rejected this approach. Instead, Alan Wake 2 will allow you to switch between Saga and Alan's perspective as you wish. You could alternate between characters each chapter, or play Saga's side of the story to completion, and then swap to Alan. This means you could witness the events of the game in a very different order to another player, something Remedy has had to meticulously plan for.
That was a really exciting narrative design challenge. It required a lot of iteration to make sure it was really satisfying, not just two stories you bop between.
When playing as Saga, events you witness can act as responses to things you've already seen as Alan, or foreshadow moments you've yet to experience in the Dark Place. To make sure all this plays out as intended, you can only swap perspective at specific points in the story.
What works on a script level, on paper, does not necessarily survive having the controller in your hand. So in this case, for instance, there was a version where you could actually switch between the characters a lot more freely and a lot earlier.
Remedy eventually scrapped this idea and replaced it with break rooms, locations throughout the world that offer players the choice of continuing as their current character or switching to the other perspective.
Alan needs his arc, of course. Saga needs her arc. And then the two of them together also need an arc, and that arc needs to be flexible depending on the order. That's an impossible challenge to do simultaneously, at least for me. So we focused on one at a time, like, let's make sure Alan feels good. Let's make sure Saga feels good. Now let's start looking at how you can jump and where it feels right to jump. And kind of that work allowed us to identify those linchpin moments, and that's where you started to see the break rooms appearing. But basically, by identifying those moments, we made sure that you could never switch in a place where you would miss a critical piece of information for that to make sense.
Okay,
across both
that's
Alan
good.
and Saga's side of the story, Remedy has used different approaches to the same core mechanics to create two bespoke experiences. The two combine to make the whole that is Alan Wake 2, a single story made up of two distinct experiences.
In a horror story, there are only victims and monsters. And the trick is not to end up as either. But trapped by the genre, we're all ripped to pieces along the way. No!
For more on Alan Wake 2, check out our extended gameplay video from Alan's perspective, or Remedy explaining how it has combined horror and detective fiction. And stick with IGN all through the month of September for even more details on Alan Wake 2.
Oh man, I cannot wait for this game. I say this every time we watch an Alan Wake 2 video, but I truly cannot wait for this game. So close. It's like a month away. I just really want to play it. But there we have it, ladies and gentlemen. That was my reaction to creating the dual protagonist experience. It's very cool that they made two protagonists for this game. It's cool that we get to play Saga Anderson, the FBI agent, investigating Bright Falls and everything that's happening there and whatnot. And then you have Alan still in the dark place, having his own little story going on. Him probably still trying to figure out a way to escape, but he has to do it from the dark place, and we get to experience the dark place as New York City, a twisted version of New York City. It's really cool. But yeah, that is it for this reaction. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time. Peace out.